Hello and welcome to Brew Tap Cast. I am Tap here for another Flesh and Blood video. Today's video, we will be talking the top cards in Monarch. So I have my top three, and we're bringing in Arcbound Geek as well to discuss his top three. So we got 6 top cards. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, go check the link below. It's there. Great channel, awesome content. He's got some spicy polls coming up for Monarch as well. So definitely check his channel out. And yeah, so without any more waiting, let's just jump right into what we think our top 6 cards in the format will be. Alrighty, here we are with Arcbound Geek. Thanks again for jumping on with us.
Hello, Tap. I'm super happy to be here with you talking about Flesh and Blood Monarch cards.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited about this set, and we are here to talk about each of our top 3 cards, so top 6 cards for Monarch. So let's just get right into it. My first card is Exude Confidence. This card is a generic. I think it's going to be one of the most impactful generics. It's super powerful, so let me read it. So it's a red pitch, 0 cost, 4 power, 2 defense, majestic, generic attack action. It says, while Exude Confidence isn't defended by a card with equal or greater power, defending hero can't play or activate instance or defense reactions this combat chain. So that's the first text box. And so right off the bat, that looks kind of crappy, right? It's cool. It's a 4 power, 0 cost card with no go again or anything. Like, all right, that's kind of not great. And it's easily defended out. Like every hero has something that is 4 power or above if they're playing attacks. So like maybe not Kano and maybe not Dorinthia, but you could play things in those decks that could easily block it out, right? So not all that exciting. It's the second part that really takes the cake. So it says instant, 3 resources, Exude Confidence gains +2 power. Activates ability only when Exude Confidence is attacking. So ultimately what you could do is just buff it up. Now, why is this exciting for me? So first, I want to make sure that we talk about, you know, where is this actually going to matter? So we don't have those the updated rules yet, the expanded rules. They were supposed to come out yesterday. It did not. So we're waiting on those. So it makes it a little bit harder to evaluate this card, but I think we still pretty much know based on the card notes from the release notes that it is going to work the way we think it's going to work. And what that is you're gonna announce to play this card. Someone has a time to react, so they could play sigils or whatever they want, you know, instance, including like Arc-like Sentinel, which is going to be something that could shut this card off pretty handily. But let's say they don't at that point. You announce it, their priority is passed, and then it hits the chain link. The active player has priority then, so they can literally just pump it up. So right then you have a chance to knock them out of being able to play instance or defense reactions for that matter. So let's say you have a hand of all blues. This was played from your arsenal. You can pump this 4 times, giving a total of 8 pump and then 12 power. So let's say you do that. Let's say you just like, I'm going to announce this. They say, cool, it lands. You pump it up to 12. They have, before those pumps actually resolve, they do have the ability to play an instance. So let's say they're going to sigil or Arc-Light Sentinel or whatever. That's sort of the worst case scenario. Is like you just beef this up real hard, and then they say, all right, cool, Arc-Light Sentinel, and now you know your whole attack crumbles. That's like the major weak point I found. But outside of that, like let's say those resolve, there is not another card that has 12 power or greater that they can defend with that is going to allow them to use defense reactions or instance. And so it locks them out of sigils. It locks them out of any shenaniganery at all, so they can block from hand with whatever they want. But otherwise, they're just shut out. And what I really like is it's also got the threat of activation. So you can play this out. They can maybe block. You can pump it up or not. If they go for this huge, they block with their whole hand, you can just be like, cool, I'm just not going to pump. I'm going to save my resources and just, you know, walk away. So that's why I'm kind of really excited about this. What do you think about this? Exciting? Not so much?
No, actually, I I just realized right now what you said, that you can activate it multiple times. So
Oh,
how
yeah.
I read it up to now, I was like, you pay once 3 and you pump it for 2. But yeah, I was rereading the card right now because actually I didn't have time to read all the cards, and I mean I was focused on other cards, and this is crazy. This could potentially go in for 12 and
Yeah.
no reactions and no
Yeah.
it's crazy. As you said, this card has a lot of potential. I think it's going to be very relevant in the new meta, and actually I need to add that to a couple of decks I'm brewing. Yeah, definitely we are going to see this card see a lot of play. I'm quite sure of it.
Cool. All right. What do you got for your first card? What do you got for us?
So as you may know, and some people that knows me may know, I'm a bit biased because I play a lot of Kano, and obviously the illusionist is going to pose a problem here because
Yes.
the illusionist is can be very, very aggressive, and with Kano, it's going to be hard to beat that. But I am already starting to brew new cards, like new decks with new cards for my new version of Kano, because I want to keep playing the Wizard in the new meta. Even though I'm not going to play only the Wizard, I'm going to try to make a new brew. So the first card I chose here is Nourishing Emptiness, which I think is going to be very relevant, especially in my new Kano build. I mean, I think it has potential. I'm not sure whether this card is actually going to see a lot of play. It has potential to be played both in shadow decks and in decks that do not run attack action, which right now it's Kano. So right now the card says for 2 attacks for 6, and while there are no attack action cards in your graveyard, Nourishing Emptiness dominate, and if it hits, your hero gains +1 intellect until the end of turn. I think the card is great because if you're playing Kano or any other, or I think also the Shadow Brute, when you're exiling a lot of cards from your
Definitely.
graveyard, and that's coming in. So you want to play this card with Dominate, and a card that for 2 has Dominate plus it buffs your intellect. It's a great card. I know it requires some setup, but imagine there are instants that allow you to banish card from the graveyard. So, or not even banish them, you just remove card from the graveyard, like Remembrance. And this is actually a very nice combo because you attack for 2. You have, imagine, 2 attack action, sorry, in your graveyard, and you attack with this card, and your opponent is going to be, well, just coming for stick and just not going to block. And then you actually play an instant, remove that card from your graveyard, and that is going to give that on hit trigger effect to the card, which means you're going to get +1 intellect, which, it's very relevant and makes this card having a lot of potential for a very different strategies too. And even though the Wizard usually do not like to run attack action, I really like the idea of, you are forcing your opponent to make an awkward block with this card, especially because since you have Kano, they are not going to have defense on their equipments. And then you get +1 intellect, almost ensured. And then next turn, they had to use cards to block or take 6 damage. And then you have a full hand with 5 cards that you can use to actually kill off your opponents, which I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, no, I that +1 intellect is like I don't think really, because most heroes except for Datadal have 4. It's just people don't really think about it. But Datadal has 3 for a reason, and that is because if it had 4, they probably would be a pretty strong hero. Like, you're literally getting 25% more cards in your hand. Like, that's a huge thing, especially for Wizard, who's like, cool, my main problem is resources. I now have literally more resources. So it's no, I think that's a great pick. And yeah, and I need to think about it. But yeah, like with Invert Existence with a Shadow Runeblade, like being able to like, cool, I'm just coming in with this attack. Oh, it doesn't have dynamite, whatever. And then boom, you like remove stuff from your own graveyard. That's pretty sweet. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
So what's your next card? I'm curious.
Yeah, my next card is a Shadow Runeblade action. Aura. Well, it is, yeah, action. So it is Dimensional Crossroads. So this card says it's a 2-pitch, 2-cost Shadow Runeblade action, defense for 3. It says go again. Whenever you play an attack action card or non-attack action card from your banish zone, if you haven't played another card of that type this turn, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. If you lose health during your turn, destroy Dimensional Crossroads. Now, yes, that last part is a big downside, especially when you're playing a Shadow Runeblade deck. You're going to have Blood Debt cards, and that's outside of Wizard or Weird Instance. You're not really getting a lot of damage on your turn outside of Blood Debt. So if you can consistently remove cards from your Blood Debt zone, this is only upside. So like, you're doing the thing that you want to do as a Runeblade. You're playing non-attack actions and you're playing attack actions. You want to play them from your banish zone because that's what Chain wants to do. It wants to banish cards and play them from there because it's an extra resource pool. And this is just literally adding damage onto those spells. And it's not just these cards get +1 damage. It's a separate source of damage. So it's something that if people are not playing some sort of Arcane Barrier, it's just going to be another card. And even if they are playing Arcane Barrier, it's another card out of their hand if they want to remove it or stop it. Then comes the damage from the actual attack action card you're playing. So, you're doing your non-attack action to maybe buff your next attack action. You're shooting them for 1 arcane. You play your attack action that got buffed from your non-attack action, you shoot them for an arcane, and then you're coming in for damage. So overall, I think it's a really powerful card. Yes, again, blood debt's a problem, but you're getting paid off for getting rid of that blood debt. And these things can stack too. And then it's like, cool, Arcane Barrier 1, which is your major source, isn't really enough anymore. Well, I guess they are. No, they're individual.
They are individual
Yeah,
source of damage.
but it's
But I
still
was
an
thinking the
extra
same.
card.
Imagine having both cards online, so you have two of those, and every time that you make one of those very small but very wide turns with chain, you're just getting an extra, a terrible amount of extra damage in. So I think that card has a lot of potential, and I think actually I lost badly to this card already a couple of times. So yeah, I definitely see your point.
Yeah, I think it fits in a nice like. I think Shane's really looking kind of aggro, but I think this fits in a little bit, maybe shifted a little bit toward mid range, just because you really don't want to lose these to blood debt. So like that's the thing is maybe you're not going to end the game with 8 soul shackles. Maybe you'll only have 4 or something like that. But even so, like you're kind of churning through the game a little faster with this arcane damage as well. So that is my number 2. What about your number 2? What do you got for us?
Well, I'm still interested for cards that can be potentially very nice for the wizard, and in this case I have a defense reaction that's rise above. So for 2 pitches, like the red one defense for 4, and instead of paying the cost of this defense reaction, you can put 1 card from your hand on the top of your deck. And this card is super useful for Kano, especially in a meta where at least that's what I imagine, that the wizard we know is going to change a bit, because for example wants to run nourishing emptiness, and if you do have a bit more cards that are not, cards that are playable with the Kano ability, which means wizard non-attack action, and you have less chance to always hit with Kano. You don't really want to blind Kano, but you actually want to activate Kano's ability when you know what's in there. And this card really allows you to put 1 card on the top of your deck while defending, and then knowing what's your top deck when you're not playing Kano. And I think that's relevant. I don't know how much relevant it is. I don't know how good that works, because maybe Kana is just only better off comboing and shooting crazy damage. But I do think that it's worth the shot to try and see if you can actually make. I'm working a build that's a bit more defensive and not so comboing, and I think that this card is going to be very relevant. And I don't see this card being relevant in a lot of other matchups, but maybe against Crippling Crush, it's a nice way to save yourself from some damage while saving up a card that's really crucial in your strategy, because you don't want to discard, or saving you from a pummel. I don't know. I think that's the card. It's at the very least very interesting, because it allows you to, save a card in a. But I think, yeah, in the most play I can see this for is wizard for now, or mechanologies.
No,
What do you think?
As you were talking, I was more on board. I was already on board with this card. I think it's great. And that last comment you said about saving it from a crippling crush or something like that, it's kind of like your brainstorm in Magic. Like, oh, you're about to get hand disruption. Ah, cool. I'll just throw this on the top of my deck because I don't want it to get taken away. So like that's really cool. And I think it fits in where you wanted defense reactions in Kano, because you don't like. Does anyone play Absorb the Aether? Like, does anyone play that?
I'm trying that, but no, right now in the old Crucible meta, no. But I'm trying to add that card to my new build of Kano. But it's an awkward card to play with.
It is, and I think this is a better situation because it allows you to wait to the end of your opponent's turn, or possibly the end of your opponent's turn. You're going to get a defense buff, and then if you have the resources left in your hand, you can throw a card you want to Kano on top of your deck, and then have it ready. So it shrinks the amount of resources you have to play with, but the cost of the card is doing something you might want to do, and then you're left with a couple cards in hand to actually do something with. So it's a little bit. It plays a safer game with Kano, and again, he starts at 15 in Blitz. He needs some extra defense. I think this is
the illusionist there that's coming in for those crazy turns.
Yeah, like that's like what 2-3 hits with illusionist cards, and you're just done. So like that's a terrible matchup. This will help a little bit. I think I agree, and I think it does. Again, it does the things that Kano needed to do, and it's less. I don't know. For me, it's less painful than Absorb the Aether and seeing that on the top of my deck and like, oh great. Cool, I have this defense reaction. Like, because I first made a a Blitz deck with that, and it's like, wow, I'm just taking these out. They're just like, they don't do the things I want to do when I want to do them. So
yeah, absolutely agree. So what's your last card for today?
So I have my last card. This is one that I'm just personally excited to play with, and I think it'll be fun with cards we saw before. This is Sonata Arcanix. So this is a 1-pitch XX cost Runeblade action defense for 2. It says, reveal the top X+3 cards of your deck. For each non-attack action card revealed this way, put an attack action card revealed this way into your hand. Then deal arcane damage to target hero equal to the number of cards put into your hand this way. Shuffle your deck, banish Sonata Arcanix, and go again. So on the whole, if you play it for 0, you're revealing the top 3, and then depending upon what you get maybe some cards in your hand, and then you put some cards, you shuffle cards back, and then you do some arcane damage. But what I really want to do with this card is bring it to Viserai and pair it with Bloodsheath's Skeleta, because if you say have 10 rune chance in play, that automatic, and you break the Skeleta, that is 10 resources to put in this. So now you're revealing the top 5 plus 3, 8 cards. If you're playing like an equal blend or so, or maybe slightly more towards the action cards, let's say you get to put 3 action cards into your hand because you saw 3 non-attack cards. That's 3 extra cards in your hand, 3 arcane damage coming at your opponent, and now you just refilled. You have a bunch of resources. It has go again. If you're playing chain, maybe somehow you're gonna just like, cool, I'm gonna get a soul shackle, so I get like maybe a non-attack action and then 2 attack actions that turn. Like, again, it's the going multiple directions with what you're doing, and that's what Runeblade wants, do arcane and normal damage, and this just feeds into that. And then, like, if you're actually playing, like, if you have all these rune chants, like, it just, like, on top of, oh, cool, I'm gonna, do an on-attack action, play an attack action, I'm gonna generate a rune chant, but then all 10 of those are coming at your face as well. So it's just, like, one big turn, you're just gonna blow up and, like, just shoot all this damage at your opponent. And I just think it's, like, really exciting, and like, yeah, it's kind of like it's like a really hard combo to maybe get off because it kind of depends on random stuff at the top of your deck, so you're bringing a little bit of that brute thing in, but I still think it's really exciting, and that's where I kind of want to experiment now with.
Yeah, it does look like a great card to experiment with, especially with the Runeblade, with Viserai. I'd love to see that turn, even if I'm on the other side, I'm like, oh man, but this is a great play. And on the side note, the art looks amazing. Look at the stairs. It's just, I love the art, I love the card, I love the flavor, I love the potential for combination with other cards.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand why you like this card and why you want to play with it.
Yeah, and who's that guy? Like, who is that? That's not Viserai, that's not Shane. Who is that?
It's a wizard. It's a new wizard. It's a wizard Runeblade, a rune wizard.
All right, what do you got for your last card for us?
Well, for the last card, I love Shadow. I love the feeling of shadows, and yeah, it's a cheesy one, but it's Doomsday because it's a hard card to play. It's not a super playable card for what I've seen for now, for my small test that I did up to now, but I think that honestly, I just want to play it for the art because it looks so cool with all those skeletons and the throne. Yeah. But actually, also, I do want. I never managed to, because actually the deck. I think that in this case, for this card, you need to build a deck around it. But I never managed to play it. But I'd love to see how it plays out. What happens when you have a blasphemate on the field? Like, how does that changes the dynamics of the game? I'm super curious to see how these tokens, how these demons that you can actually summon, are going to change the way the game. Like, how much does it affect, how much of an advantage is that? From the cost that you see for those cards, seems like it's going to be a huge swing in your favor, but I'm not 100% sure how I'm just curious to see. I really would love to make a deck that just aims at playing Doomsday and see what happens with that. I'm very curious about playing this card, and the art is amazing.
I'm right there with you. I think that out of the 2 legendary entrants that we saw, this is the easier one because, you're just doing normal brute things, Leviathan things, and you're going to banish those cards. It doesn't require you to have this big turn. They're going to be in there. And hopefully you're shutting off Blood Debt, so you have all that stuff in your zone and you're not just getting blown up. But this doesn't seem that bad. You play it at the end of your opponent's turn, so you at least have one turn to swing with it. I think it's exciting. And yeah, I have no idea how they'll play, but it's going to have an impact. It's going to have an impact. It has to.
let's see. Let's see. We will see. The new meta starts right now.
It does,
Like
yeah.
yesterday, it's already started, and I can't wait to see how all this experimenting phase, will actually unfurl, and how will how we'll come to a new equilibrium in the different decks being played. And I'm curious to see if we'll see decks that are like doomsday combo, where just the name of the deck, doomsday, going to harvest your soul if you play against me. It's just crazy.
Yeah, well, I think I'm excited about these cards. I really want to thank you for joining us, and I'm glad you brought some spice there. I was like, oh, cool, yeah, the legendaries are great, but like I wanted to dig into some other stuff. But no, I'm glad we got a legendary in there, and boy, is it's an exciting one. So, yeah, thanks for coming on, and I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with me.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a very nice chat. I'm super happy to be of being here in the channel after you were guest on mine. I wanted to come, to come by and be a guest there. So thank you very much for the chance that you gave me, and I hope you'll have some more occasion to do some collaboration with me.
100%. And as I said in the intro, make sure you go subscribe. Again, links down below. But thanks for coming on the channel. And yeah, we'll be doing some more stuff later. So thank you very much, man.
Thank you, man. Bye, everyone. See you in the next video.
Cheers. Alrighty, well, that was our discussion with Arcbound Geek about the top 3 cards from Monarch that we decided on. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. We're looking to do more collaborative stuff in the future and more gameplay once we can actually get some cards to play with. My boxes are still en route, so hopefully we'll get those soon and get some content out there with you. I'm not much of a box opening kind of person, but if people would like to see that, maybe I will do that. I have no idea, and I also sure how much I will actually open or actually will receive, for that matter. But that'll be all for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know below if you did or did not. Do you like more collaborations, less collaborations, more actual paper cards, more TTS? We're going to try to get into TTS as well. But in any case, thank you so much for joining us. And this is Tap for Brew Tap Cast saying goodbye and cheers.